for the painting. Yeah. So I mean, I was kind of driven by the you know, I suppose the facts. You know, that all these amazing characters were moving about around, you know, the place where I live. You know? I mean, so I felt like it was nested right in ancient history. Well, it's not so ancient, but you know, it's history.
Yeah, definitely. You've exhibited all over the world. Is there any particular place or experience that has resonated with you?
All this doesn't sound corny, but I definitely derived the most satisfaction from exhibiting in Dunfermline, in my hometown.
I was curious about that.
Yeah. But it's always a pleasure to exhibit, provided everything goes smoothly. But I enjoyed exhibiting in London and in Germany and in America. But it's most rewarding to share your creativity with your own community. That's the truth of it.
Which is what Fire Station Creative is all about.
That's the basis of it. Yeah. It's about that sort of circular exchange between the creative community and the wider public, and you know, everybody feeds off each other, and culture is definitely like it's a circular process, and if you don't have the venues to allow that to flourish, then the circle gets broken and people feel a bit lost. You know, certainly creative people feel a bit lost if there is no outlet, no place to share their creativity. So that was the thinking and then the motivation behind the foundation of Fire Station Creative.
You've have you ever had writer's block or artist block?
Painter's block. Yeah.
Painter's block.
Yeah. I mean,
creator's block.
It doesn't last too long. But what I've figured out is just stop and go away and do something else, and then I mean, it's really just an indication that you're distracted or you're you know. So when I was younger, I certainly used to like put myself through hell, you know, trying to create something. This is my creative time, and it's not coming, so I'll get angry, you know, and you just waste materials. But I learned, no, just if you're not in the right frame of mind, go for a walk around the block or take a day off or something.
Okay. Now, you're the winner of the City of Glasgow Prize.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, 1,500 people entered that competition, and you were the winner.
Well, it wasn't strictly a competition. It was the Royal Glasgow Institute annual exhibition, and 1,500 people entered their work for the exhibition, and prizes are handed out for different categories. So as most artists do, they submit work without any great expectations of even having the work accepted into the exhibition. But so I got the letter telling me that the work was going to be shown, and then I got another letter saying that I'd won the City of Glasgow Prize. You know, so I was delighted. You know, because I don't think I'd won a prize before. And I felt quite good about it until I met this other artist at the ceremony who he had won some other prize, and he told me all of the prizes that he had won, and I'll mention him. His name's Saul Robertson. He's an absolutely brilliant artist, and he's won just about every prize that is given out in Scotland. So that was that taught me some humility. You know, don't feel too good.
Well, but it must be some experience. You know, opening the post in the morning. You know, and there's this letter here.
Aye.
Yeah.
Well, I got £1,000 for it as well. So.
Which is, that always helps. That always helps.
Yeah, that was. It was good. You know, I mean, it's. I suppose everybody likes a bit of acknowledgement, and I didn't have any expectations about winning that, so it's just it was I don't know, it was good. It was a wee while ago now, so I don't dwell on it too much. Yeah.
How, because I'm a great believer that creativity can affect change. What is your thoughts on art affecting change?
Well, I think, artists are typically very, very open-minded. Psychologically, they're very, very open, and it's that type of person who updates the culture. Now, some people might think artists don't really have any effect on society, but actually, if you look around you, everything that's man-made has some creative aspect of it. The couch that you're sitting on right now, or your clothes. These have an aesthetic to them, which had to be generated by creative people. So they have such a powerful influence over our society and our culture.
Our visual world.
Our visual world, but it's easy to forget that it's there. It's like a fish forgetting that it's actually in water. But artists update the culture. But and if you're going to update the culture, it's kind of a dangerous place to be. Because people generally don't like change. People who are psychologically more conservative are quite nervous about the presence of artists, because they're changing what they're familiar with.
Change makers.
They're change makers, exactly. Yeah. But if I can just refer back to what I talked about earlier about artists creating like a mould or a cookie cutter, it's you're kind of betraying the role of an artist if that's your game. The whole point of being an artist is to birth some new idea into the culture. It's the point of being human. It's the point of human civilization is to change it, update it, and improve it. And artists are arguably the most open people that we have. They play a kind of shamanic role, where they are that conduit between the subconscious or the imagination and the physical world. So it's a very, very important role, and I think artists especially would do well to remember that's what they're here to do.
So it's okay to be a little bit rebellious.
I don't think people should be rebellious for its own sake. I think if you live in a free society, which we do, space is created for you to use your imagination. It only becomes rebellious when people start to, or rather the state tries to put restrictions upon your creativity. That's where artists get his name for being rebellious, because society has become too conservative, too stale, and if you stay stale for too long, you get pressure cooker effect. Like an obvious example of that is the punk genre, which erupted in the 1970s. Well, that was a backlash against people who, their parents, who were very matter of fact and conservative post-war. So, the punks were sick of it. All the convention and the rules. So they just erupted. And then the pressure is relieved, and people say, actually, no, they've actually got something positive to add here.
Yeah.
People need to be more free. And then, of course, you can go too far.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think our society has swung quite far now in the other direction. So it'll just continue swinging back and forth, and over a millennia, you see what happens culturally.
Is there any advice or inspiration you'd offer to any other creatives out there?
I think it depends at what level you're speaking. If you're speaking at a very practical level, then you have to be disciplined and dedicated, obviously. But the advice I would give to practicing artists is you have to stay true to yourself. You know, it's be honest. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
to be faithful to the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
Don't become cynical. Don't do it for money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can if you want, and if you're making money and that's your game, that's
Great.
fine by you. But it's not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to capture my attention, then I
Mhm.
want to see what's in the depths of your mind. I'm not interested in flower arranging, you know, pretty pictures. That's not my bag
Mhm.
at all.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone wanted to get in touch with you regarding commissions, regarding your work, regarding Fire Station Creative, how would they do that?
Just by email. So
Mhm.
it's Ian IAN
Mm-hmm.
at firestationcreative.co.uk.
Okay. And we'll get in touch with you that way.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Ian, for holding the space.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.